Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Thanks for tuning into this video. I'm going to do a trade recap going over how you have to have defensive mindset with trading, how you have to trade very defensively depending on the context of the market and basically what it's telling you to do. I know a lot of people go into the market every day with the same mindset, which is okay, but you have to trade differently depending on how the market is reacting to certain events and basically how the market and what it is telling you to do. You have to trade differently than you would on a different day when it's basically giving you a different story. So this is going to be a trade recap review going over the past 2 days, the trades we took in the Discord room, what we could use it for to improve on, and just going over basically my whole thought process with everything. So before we do begin, I'm going to link my Instagram in the description below. If you learn anything from this video, if you could drop a like on it and also follow me on Instagram. Very educational content. I do daily trade recaps like this on a daily basis. I also post good trading tips and tricks. So the link for this will be in the description below. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So I'm going to get into why it's important for us to play defense in trading. But first, I have to explain the overall context of the market just to get a picture in everyone's head of what exactly I'm going to be talking about. So yesterday on Monday, October 12th, we had the S&P gap up, and in the morning we've started rallying pretty hard. So our plan in the pre-market was to get long on pullbacks inside demand. Now, obviously, we didn't get pullback. We didn't get any pullback inside demand. Instead, we opened up and we started rallying pretty aggressively to the upside. The closest supply zone that we had was this daily zone at 3528. And that was our overall target to the upside yesterday, according to our pre-market plan. Now, if you go into smaller time frames, the key is on strong uptrend days like this is to get long on pullbacks, speculating that demand is going to form, or get long based off my favorite trading strategy on a 5-minute, my scalping strategy, which played out perfectly. You know, we had that formation that I look for. If you haven't seen my latest video on my favorite trading strategy, this is the exact pattern I look for right here. And we did that. So there's just clues all day long for you to get long, you long pullbacks on strong uptrend days like this. We were consistently making higher highs and higher lows. So very strong uptrend, and we eventually did come into this daily supply zone. No reason to step in front of a strong market like this, especially with it being propped up and basically bid it up higher and higher as we move higher. And then we formed new demand in this area right here, which again, we didn't really trigger at. And then today, which is interesting, was we had a pre-market plan of an overall bearish bias because of a couple reasons. So we hit daily demand yesterday, or daily supply on the S&P, and then pre-market we were making lower highs. So right off the bat, made a lower high inside of supply. I'm bearish, and I want to take the market short and basically get long on any demand zone that we have. So we did have demand. Now I'm going to pull this chart up in this area right here, which we basically came into, but there was no clear direction. The market was falling. We had no confirmation to get long as there was no buyers in the market. No one was interested in it. We were below VWAP and the market was trading very choppy. So this is what's very important for you to all understand is when the market is balanced like this, when it is not reacting and when it's basically in an agreement between buyers and sellers, it's safe to say the trend is down, but there's an agreement between buyers and sellers because the market is balanced. There's also no volatility, and what that means is we have to be very defensive in trading. When the market is trading like this, and I could fast forward, all day long, very choppy, and there was zero follow through. We traded in a, I want to say 20-point range or an 18-point range on the S&P 500. Compared to yesterday where, we were getting 18-point ranges in a, 30-minute period. Whereas today we moved in a very tight range for the first 2-3 hours of the market open. And because of this, you have to trade defensively. I cannot stress this enough where you have to be and you have to have a defensive over offensive mindset in trading. If you're always on the offensive side where you're trying to hit home runs, you're trying to hit the next big winner, you're trying to make a killer profit, and the market is like this, you are going to either get stopped out or you're going to take a very unnecessary and big loss. I could tell you that for a fact. And if this only thing you take out of this video is just to be very defensive in trading when the market is telling you to be defensive. The market is balanced. You have to trade defensively, because what I'm going to show you is on the stocks that we do trade and the imbalances that we do have are going to serve reactions, but they are not going to give us the follow through as we would get on certain days where the trend is obvious compared to, like a day like yesterday. So please just be very defensive. Do not go into every day and go into the market every day thinking it's going to be the same as yesterday. It's going to be the same as, last week. Every day is different. The market tells you a different story every day. And it's important for you to understand the context of the market and for you to trade around that context. So now let's get into the certain stocks that we trade and the nice setups that we took. So now keep in mind how strong the S&P was yesterday. And this is yesterday's chart and plan on Boeing. So we had a 3-hour and a 1-hour demand at the 166.24 level. And if I go to Boeing on yesterday, and this is where it's important for you to keep in mind on the S&P and the overall strength of it compared to it today. Yesterday, we bounced off of this 3-hour demand perfectly and rallied very hard into a 30-minute supply zone. We took this trade long, and it was a very big winner on Boeing. Now, you're going to get nice follow through like this and strong volume, volatility, and very liquid areas to trade in when the market is trading like that. So that was on Boeing. The same thing with Netflix. So Netflix yesterday as well bounced off of, I think this was a 3-hour zone, but it bounced off of a demand zone perfectly, and we got that follow through right into a 2-hour supply zone. Let me remove this really fast, and rallied right into a 2-hour zone. Now what's important here is we created supply up in this area on a 1-hour time frame. Now this is going to be important for today. If I undo that, now we have a supply that formed because of a supply zone, which is going to be an extra strong level. And Netflix today, which was a very valid short, gave us a nice opportunity. Let's see here. Gave us a nice opportunity the first time, held VWAP. The second time, broke high a day, gave us another nice opportunity. But because of how the S&P was trading, if I pull up an S&P chart, you're not going to have as much follow through as you would on a normal day, just because of the volatility and just because of the chop and balancing market you have on the S&P. So therefore, you have to play a little more defensive as you would on other days, such as, here's a perfect example on Netflix. Maybe go smaller size. On days like this, I size down. I don't go with full position size. And on days like this, I'm very, very selective with my trades. You have to be very, very selective and only trade on high quality setups. And you have to find stocks that have relative strength or weakness compared to the market. So here we have Roku. And Roku, this 3-hour zone has just been giving us nice reactions, every time. This was yesterday, double bottomed inside the zone, bounced. Today, opened up inside the zone, formed new demand down here inside demand, and then this thing rallied. So what's important here, and what I want for all of you to take out of this, is how strong Roku was compared to the S&P. And what I think you all need to do on days like this when the market is choppy, pull up the S&P again. When it is choppy like this, you have to find stocks that have relative strength or relative weakness compared to the market. So all day this morning, and after Roku was very, very strong, we were above VWAP, and what's important here is how we were, look at the volume. Volume was dying down. We were holding above VWAP, and we were basing. We were treating consolidating in a sideways action, and that is very bullish in my opinion. I pull up Discord here, exactly what I was watching. So this is the 30-minute chart at the time I was watching it. We were setting up for new demand. And now here's a 5-minute chart as we were consolidating sideways. So anywhere in this area right here is a valid entry point for multiple reasons. One was very strong, bounced out of demand, created new demand inside old demand. Two, volume died out, but the stock was still holding up. What that's telling me is we have a very strong buyer who's basically bidding the stock, not letting it drop, not letting it offer and bid lower. Volume is decreasing, and we're holding sideways, creating new demand. And I think if you go into like a 30-minute so we have a 30-minute right here, which was forming new demand, and then we get that rally and continue the strength to the upside. Also, the context of this trade was that we were at all-time highs, formed new demand. So the key with this is you have to find relative strength or relative weakness stocks. Now, a good tool to look at this, and this is also another indicator to use to give you extra confirmation, is if you go to your studies, you add a study, and you go to compare with, you're going to have SPX. Now, you can compare this with SPX, SPY, whatever you want to look at. So in the background, the white line is the S&P 500. As the S&P was selling off and was very choppy, Roku was doing the opposite. Roku was holding up sideways, consolidating and forming new demand while the market was selling off. So that gives you extra confirmation. Take it long, anywhere. There's not going to be a valid entry point. There's no definition of a valid one. Take it anywhere long, in this area. You can take it anywhere. As long as you stop, you manage your risk properly, there's nothing wrong with it. My stop in this trade would have been below VWAP, and we would have been risking about $1.50, and then this thing ripped about $10 higher. So very good risk to reward. It was a very good trade. It was at all-time highs. A couple other things was Facebook today bounced off of a 15-minute demand zone, I believe, or 30-minute, and rallied right into 1 hour. So right from supply to demand. Netflix, we had that old supply zone, which got invalidated now that we're above it. It was a very strong level, but market had no follow through today. So now that's invalid. We talked about Roku. Boeing chopped inside of a demand zone. And when we chop inside of demand with no action, no follow through, no volatility, I'm not taking that trade. I'm going to completely ignore it because that's telling me that there's not an interested buyer down there. And then lastly, before I wrap this video up, is we have NASDAQ. And this thing today was very flat, very sideways, same thing, but it was relatively stronger compared to the S&P. The S&P broke below the pre-market low pretty early. This is the S&P actually. If I go to NASDAQ chart, look at the difference between this chart and NASDAQ. NASDAQ held above the pre-market low, bounced off of this demand here. So this was a valid entry point. Would I have taken this trade? Just no, because of how the S&P was reacting. But overall, tech was stronger today compared to the S&P 500. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. It's kind of just me rambling about some setups, rambling about the market. But if you learned anything, just drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And also follow my Instagram in the description below. Thanks.